So what are we talking about? Today, we're talking about Tourbillon, Overwatch's most underrated defense character.
Build 'em up, break 'em down.
He's got turrets, he's got a hammer, he deals with gear, so this is kind of related. Also, he will sometimes beat a giant sentient hamster to death with a hammer. It's a family game.
Yeah, I think you got the wrong notes that I sent you.
I love the idea that you would be sending me notes about Overwatch mains. Welcome to Hey, How's That Work with Luca. Today we're going to be talking about the tomatillo trombone. Hold it up. Higher. What does that even say? Tourbillon.
Tourbillon.
Today we're talking about the tourbillon. That's a thing that old Louis Breguet invented a long time ago to fix a problem that we don't really have anymore. But people still like them, and they still like to make them, and they're cool, and they're kind of expensive to make. And it's like putting a fancy, expensive beeper into your cell phone because you like beepers. That's a weird metaphor, but I'm just gonna roll with it. You'll see what I mean. I can't wait to see you there. Welcome to Hey, How's That Work with Luca? This is Luca. I'm a tourbillon. Today we're talking about the tourbillon. What is that? Well, that's a fancy French word that may or may not refer to a mountain named after a Swiss chocolate. I don't know. So, the tourbillon was invented a long time ago by a guy named Louis Breguet. You may have heard of him. He's kind of famous. Louis Breguet invented a special system for more or less for pocket watches. Why he invented that, I'll get into in a second. But suffice it to say, this is your escapement that you're used to, or that you may have seen before. It's just going to be stationary. You know, you're gonna have your escape wheel, your pallet fork, and your balance wheel. Back in the day, we didn't have wristwatches. We only had pocket watches and the like. And so pocket watches always stayed in a vertical position. Actually, it would have been this way. Would have stayed in a vertical position. So they would have been sitting, in a pocket or on a chain. So the balance wheel will always be oriented vertically. This actually brought up a problem with the balance wheel being in a single position all day. The effects of gravity on the timing of the watch are more pronounced. Why does gravity have such an effect on the balance wheel? Well, it really depends on the balance wheel itself. With modern balance wheels and modern machining practices, you can get a lot tighter tolerances with your machining than you could back in Breguet's day. Back in Breguet's day, you had to make those balance wheels perfect. And when I say perfect, I mean the weight distribution needs to be even throughout the entire rim of the balance wheel. Basically, what would happen is if, say, you made a balance wheel with hand tools, which is already real difficult, and you didn't get that balance wheel perfectly balanced, what will happen is every time that heavy spot spins around, gravity is going to pull that heavy spot down faster. So it's going to accelerate through that turn, and that is going to affect the regular interval with which the watch times. So to counteract this, Breguet invented the tourbillon. The tourbillon is more or less an escapement that is rotating in a cage all day. And what that does is that moves your escapement through a variety of positions, through all the pendant positions. So you kind of basically averaging out the inconsistencies that would arise from an improperly balanced balance wheel. With pocket watches, the balances always stay in a vertical position. That's called a pendant position because pendants hang on chains and they're always vertical. So pendant positions in your watches. So those pendant positions, if you look back to our regulation video, you might see crown down, crown up, crown left. Those are the pendant positions because unlike dial up and dial down, the balance wheel is going to be, oriented vertically. Therefore, it's more prone to positional errors due to the effects of gravity on the balance wheel. So, enter the tourbillon. This is a 3D printed tourbillon that I made. Tourbillons are very expensive and very fiddly. Watchmaking. Is this how you regulate a tourbillon? So you don't really want me tearing one apart for a video because it's probably going to be kind of hard to get back together. So we got this guy. Basically, if you look at this, you can see, you have your balance wheel, you have your hairspring. If you kind of look in here, you can see your pallet fork, and then you have your escape wheel. Now, all of this is then mounted inside of a gear with internal teeth. You can see the internal teeth right here, and mounted on the bottom of this escape wheel is a pinion. That pinion has teeth, which will allow it to turn within the internal gears of the tourbillon. Kind of like so, if I can get this to work. So, there you go. That is your guy turning perfectly with no issues at all. But you can kind of see what's going on. It's turning, it's very fiddly, but it's turning within this. So, as your day goes on, it's turning through all these positions. So you're getting, you're getting crown down, crown up, crown left, crown right. You're getting it all because it's going through all these positions. Typically, when you regulate a watch, you're going to regulate it in 5, 6, 8, however many positions. With a tourbillon, since this guy is spinning through what we'll call a combined position of all of the pendant positions, you only need to regulate it for 3 positions: dial up, dial down, and a pendant position. Back in Breguet's day, that was a huge deal because they didn't have, fancy computers to give you a nice readout of your timing. So they actually had to use other watches to regulate, their watch. So by eliminating that amount of work and potential for error, they're able to make the clocks, watches, all the above, more accurate. While this was a huge deal back in the day when you had pocket watches and stuff that were always hanging out in that vertical position, tourbillons aren't super useful nowadays. And by super useful, I'm hedging and I'm saying that they're not useless, but they're getting there. They're in the neighborhood of useless. So the tourbillon is it's very niche. It kind of exists now as a watchmaker flex, is what I'm going to call it. It's beautiful. It's probably one of the most beautiful complications you can get in modern watchmaking. That movement is very fun and it's very engaging. They do have a use and they do still offset positional errors when in pendant positions, but the amount of work and everything needed, they're not super useful. It's a fun, pretty, an interesting complication that's kind of left over from way back when, but it doesn't have a huge impact on modern watches. There we have it. A gross oversimplification of a overly complicated and arguably useless ornament. I know I'm really treading on thin ice there, but it's really not that useful. But it is very pretty. We do like to see them, but it doesn't do a whole lot. So, if you have any comments on my handling of the tourbillon and how useful it is, or any other comments, if you like how I look or how I do things, I don't know, what do you ever want to comment about? Put it in the comments. Surprise, surprise, comment in the comments. If you're out there living your life and doing your thing and you see some watch stuff and you want to know how it works, well, you know what to do. Put that in the comments and we'll take a look at it. See if we can't come up with a video that is helpful. So there we go. That's your Tourbillon video. Goodbye now.